week we were in the studio on the day after Mom Donnie and
Yeah.
Virginia and Jersey showed up, and I was so optimistic about the state of our union because it was saying that we the
Mhm.
people actually have a voice, and when we show up we free the world. Just to
That's
piggyback, when we
exciting.
show up in great numbers, which we did last week, last Tuesday, election day, things happen. Now the problem is we show up and
Mm.
then we have representatives, right? So the way it goes is we cast our vote, we vote and elect people, and those people are supposed to represent us.
Right.
So what happens when they represent themselves? And what
Mm.
happens when they go against the will of the people? Well, we're about to find out in the midterms of 2026. But
That's
in the
right.
meantime, it was right there, Kev. They had it. They had it. And listen, I'm under no delusion that this administration, this regime, and these Republicans who are not Republicans but MAGA would have kept this going until midterms next year. There's no doubt in my mind. But at that point, 40 days in, you
Yeah.
know, you got to go the whole way and understand that yes, there's pain. But I'm looking at these 8 senators who broke ranks last night, and I was getting a minute by minute update.
Yep.
Shout out to Ajua Asamoah, who's been very she's the one that really pushed the Crown Act to get passed in so many places. But she was there calling like she was. This is what goes on behind the scenes and giving me text by and I said, oh no, they're going to fold, and they're
Yep.
not folding for us. They're folding for themselves. So I just want to talk about the 8 senators that broke ranks because they needed a 60 number. That's the magic number, 60 majority, the super majority they call it. It's part of this whole thing to, and there was a discussion last week about breaking the filibuster. So it's only needed 51 or 50-50 and let, the vice president break the tie, as Kamala Harris broke the tie on so many occasions. But
Mm-hmm.
8 people fixed their face to go against the will of the people. I do believe Tuesday was a mandate to say, okay, we know it's going to get a little tough and a little rough, and we're going to tighten our belts and we're going to do what we need to do. But we cannot let this fascism take hold, this thing that's happening in this country. We do believe in
Mm-hmm.
democracy. So, so I went down the list of
I'm looking
these
at the list
folk.
right now. Yeah.
You're looking at it. Okay, so
Yeah.
two of them are retiring.
Yeah.
So there's nothing that you could do to them because they're
Yes.
out. But what I'm noticing so is Angus King from Maine, John Fetterman from Pennsylvania, Catherine Cortez Masto from Nevada. They've all supported Republican written stopgap bills to fund the government before this even happened. They were already in alignment. Okay. So there's Maine, Nevada. Um, I'm looking at something, Kev. I don't know if you're looking at the map the way I am, but Maine and New Hampshire
Mm-hmm.
predominantly was like 93% non, is 93% non-melanated, like
Yes.
93 to 95% non-melanated. I'm looking at all of the people that were in alignment. They're from states that, when we think about SNAP, they want to say this is the face of SNAP, but it's not. The face of SNAP
Right.
looks like them,
Right.
but except they're very rich. Everybody on this list, and shame on Tim Kaine, who was Hillary Clinton's vice presidential pick. Tim Kaine, really? From Virginia, who's a millionaire, by the way.
Mm.
Um, what's your assessment?
Well, I agree with Bernie Sanders and Elizabeth Warren and even some of the congressional House members that this is going to what we're ignoring here is what's going to happen with healthcare prices. Now they're claiming that they're in part of the negotiation that there's going to be a Senate vote, I believe, in January where they can vote on the extension of Obamacare, but doesn't guarantee that it will happen. Tim Kaine, I believe he voted for this, supported this because Virginia houses is the place where a lot of government workers live. That's a fact. That's why we say the
Yes.
DMV.
Yeah.
And I believe,
150,000 federal
yeah,
workers were affected in his district. So maybe he
yeah,
did fight on behalf of his constituents.
correct, correct. Now, when you look at the others are from Maine, Illinois, both senators from New Hampshire, as you said, Fetterman, which I kind of expected, from Pennsylvania. And then there's Nevada, both senators from Nevada. So it was
Yep.
very, that's how they got the 8 votes. It was very strategic. You had four of the eight are from the same state or same states. And then, Pennsylvania, Virginia are important swing states for midterm and presidential election years. But I mean, I think, it, it's, it's a hard one, Karen, because I know people out here are suffering. We know that I'm looking at the president was in both his resort in Florida this weekend at a football game where he got booed mercilessly in Washington yesterday. You know what I'm saying? But indifferent basically to what was happening. This is the longest shutdown ever. And I think that these folks thought this was the best they could do, but I don't agree with that. I know a lot of folks don't agree with it. It's interesting to me that Schumer wasn't aligned with this. He said no. He said no. You know what I mean?
Wow.
But
So
they still have to have
you
the
you
House
know
vote
it.
on Wednesday.
You know enough politics to know
Yeah.
that once you know that the votes are going a certain kind of way, you can,
Yep.
split the baby and come over and vote against it because you already paved the way for this to happen. So now you can like throw the rock and hide your hands.
Right.
I
Right.
call these guys the Elite Eight. Those of you who love basketball,
Right.
NCAAs. And it's a different kind of Elite Eight. Catherine Cortez Masto was Attorney General of Nevada, where she
Mm,
served from 2007 to 2015. Her term ends in 2029, so she's really not in jeopardy of being primaried or losing her seat in this upcoming election. So I'm
right.
sure some deals were made. She has voted 15 times to end the federal government shutdown. Down 15
Mm,
times, even before Democrats had extracted a promise of a vote. They got a promise of a vote on health care. They didn't get a promise to fund health care or to give people health care tax credits. They got a
that's right.
promise of a vote from people that lie.
Mm,
She repeatedly stated that she did not want to inflict, quote, sweeping pain on Americans in order to extract a solution to the impending health. Yeah. Okay. And then she describes the long lines, the long lines. I haven't seen this since the pandemic.
mm.
Jackie Rosen, she's an interesting character because I have a clip from her. Did I give you that clip? Just hold on. Hold on. Yes. Just last week, or was it 2 weeks ago? She was out there running her mouth. Another from Nevada. She's the other senator from Nevada. She voted, of course, to advance the deal, representing a state where 95,000 Nevadans utilize the Affordable Care Act, Obamacare.
Mm.
She was just reelected, so she too is not in jeopardy of losing her seat in 2026. But this is what, Jonah, get this. Jackie Rosen just said this. Taught somebody on the Senate floor talking about this shutdown. Please.
Saying to you is this is a Republican shutdown, my friend. You are in control of the White House. You are in control of the House, and you are in control of the Senate.
Does it
And
take
if you
60
went
votes?
home
Does
to
it
a
take 60
food bank
votes?
instead of going to Mar-a-Lago
Does it
to
take 60
eat
votes?
at a gold-plated dinner while people are starving, you might see and hear your
does it take
constituents, sir.
60 does
You
it-
are
Does
blind to
it
the
take
suffering of
60
your
votes?
people.
What happened? Kevin, what happened? She was just talking about this is a Republican shutdown. What happened?
I have no idea. And you're right. None of the eight senators, the elite eight, I like that, face reelection in 26 next year. But two of them are retiring at the end of their terms. And so they were safe Democrats who voted for this in terms of not having to worry about getting defeated next year in the midterm elections or they're retiring. And I don't know what kind of backroom deal was cut, but somehow they came around. It was shocking to me because when I was getting text messages yesterday from around the country, Kev, you see what's happening with the Senate? They're about to vote in favor of ending this thing, and they're compromising all over the place. I mean, people were posting their faces. This is the elite eight. These are the people. I don't know. Bernie Sanders came out and said something it's
We
on
got his
Instagram.
clip. We got his clip. We got his
Okay,
clip. So
good.
let's
Okay, all
let's
right.
uh let's keep. So Tim Kaine, I'm not giving him a pass again. His net
Right.
worth is 1.3 million. He was governor of Richmond, Virginia from 2006 to 2010. He was lieutenant governor of Virginia. Virginia just told you what they wanted. Virginia
Right.
just they just elected the Fed. They elected a CIA agent to make sure that they were sending a message. You know, they'd rather
Yeah.
have that than the lady whose wig was twisted, okay, who was MAGA. They're letting you know what they want, Tim Kaine. And yes, there are a lot of government workers furloughed, but 150,000 versus the rest of us? Stop it.
Yeah.
Dick Durbin.
Yeah.
Well, Dick
Yeah.
Durbin will not seek reelection. He's another millionaire. Durbin is a Democratic whip and the only member of the party leadership who voted with Republicans to advance the deal to end the shutdown. He was the only member early on. His likely successor as whip voted against advancing this deal and stuck with the people who are with the people. John Fetterman, who very complicated man. I've interviewed him. He was super disrespectful. I remember the interview like it was yesterday because it was in that moment. I was like, yeah. And y'all remember, those of you who were listening to me at the time, I was like, nah. Not only did you shoot a black man and try to like, but he ran when he first ran. He ran against Mehmet Oz. So it was one of those. It's like, do we want Dr. Oz? No, we do not. So he won that
Right.
election over Dr. Oz. 2.7 million people came out for him, which was a big number. Dr. Oz got 2.487 million votes. And the primary was Connor Lamb and Malcolm Kenyatta, who is one of the vice chairs of the
That's
DNC
right. That's right.
in the primary, and he trounced them combined. He got more votes than they got together, Connor Lamb and Malcolm Kenyatta. But he's the only Democrat who has voted each and every time with the Republicans. He knocked his party for sparking the shutdown and blamed them for it. When we just heard Jackie Rosen say this is a Republican shutdown, this guy was always, but follow the money, follow the money, follow the money, follow the money. Maggie Hassan from New Hampshire, another state that is predominantly 90+% melanemic. She's out there, one of the Democrats who negotiated the vote. She was behind the scenes with Schumer negotiating because Schumer said last week, if we can get health care. So we knew something was happening. And this is
Right.
why we know his hand is on that rock that was thrown. This is why, because he came out and talked about it. You're telegraphing, sir. Nobody's stupid.
Mm. Mm.
And then there's Jean Shaheen. That rhymes. Jean Shaheen, New Hampshire. She was the original sponsor of the legislation that created the enhanced Obamacare tax credits that have been central to the shutdown dispute and played a key role in, quote, negotiating to vote to extend them. And like Durbin, she's retiring. So y'all can't do nothing to her. Angus, where's the beef? King. Angus Beef King, independent, who caucuses with the Democrats. Key negotiator on the deal struck to guarantee the Affordable Care Act tax credits. It's not going to be a guarantee. You already know these people lie. And finally, Chuck Schumer, who's also not up for re-election. I'm putting him there. He's a what do you call that? Honorable mention?
Yeah, honorable alternate,
Yeah.
something like that.
Yeah. He also has won his Senate seat in New York without running against an opponent. So when 2028 comes around and he's on the ballot again, he must be primaried. Must be, as the rest of these people as well. But this is so disheartening. I do want to play the Bernie Sanders clip because last night that was the thing. I was like, this before it even came through. Senator Sanders was calling out both parties. Play the clip.
I think it is important that the American people fully understand what is being voted on today. Everybody in America knows that our current healthcare system is broken, it is dysfunctional, it is cruel, it is by far the most expensive healthcare system in the world, and the only healthcare system of any major country that does not guarantee healthcare to all people as a human right, covering every man, woman, and child. We are unique in that respect. And yet tonight, what this Senate is about to do is make a horrific situation even worse. So let's be clear what this vote is about. If this vote succeeds, over 20 million Americans are going to see at least a doubling in their premiums in the Affordable Care Act. In my state of Vermont and throughout this country, for certain groups of people, it will be a tripling and a quadrupling of their premiums. There are people who will now be paying 50% of their limited incomes for health care. Does anybody in the world think that makes sense? And if this resolution is passed tonight, we are on a pathway to throw 15 million Americans off of Medicaid and the Affordable Care Act. 15 million. Our job is to create universal health care. Guarantee health care to every man, woman, and child, not throw 15 million people off the health care they have, low-income and working-class people. And my friends, know what you are voting on. Studies are out there that when you throw 15 million people off of health care, some 50,000 of our fellow Americans will die unnecessarily every single year. Anyone think that's funny? Something to laugh at? Something to just go past? I don't. 50,000 Americans die unnecessarily. Now, I know as part of this resolution that the majority leader is going to say, well, Democrats can put together their own bill, and it'll come to the floor here in the Senate for a vote. As everybody here knows, that is a totally meaningless gesture. You can get 100 votes here in the Senate. Won't mean anything because the House is not going to take it up, and the President of the United States certainly will not sign it.
That's right. That's why this was so unnecessary. This was so unnecessary unless there was a deal made with these 8, the elite, and I'm using elite not in a good way right now. The elite 8 made a deal because we just heard Jackie Rosen flapping her gums not too long ago, and now there's this flip-flop. Mike Johnson, who is third in line for the White House, he is the House leader. He said this on November 6th about a deal, and you should hear this.
He's offered them a vote. You know what they told him in response? No, we need you to guarantee the outcome of that vote. Well, that's ridiculous. That can't be done.
From the Senate, will you assure the House members that they'll get a vote, House Democrats, that they'll get a vote on ACA subsidies by date certain?
No, because we did our job, and I'm not part of the negotiation. The House did its job on September 19th. I'm not promising anybody anything. I'm going to let this process play out. I'll tell you what they wanted. I'll tell you what Schumer and Jeffries wanted. In fact, Chuck Schumer said it publicly and decried that Thune and I would not go in a back room with them and make a four corners agreement on Obamacare subsidies. And I said, there's no way. That it was never possible or appropriate.
So, Kev, how do you make a deal when this man has publicly stated that he wasn't going to make a deal?
Yeah. What I'm seeing as a result of the Elite Eight's decision to join ranks and do this vote is it looks like the Democrats have still no plan. They had these great success less than a week ago across the country. The American people were speaking, people were crossing party lines, as you know, all of that because people are upset with the current state of affairs. And all they had to do was hold their ground, but they felt that they couldn't. And so they took this deal, and people are angry, because there's no guarantee that these Affordable Care Act subsidies will be extended and stay at a fair market price for people. I mean, people can barely afford stuff now. And so, Bernie Sanders is not wrong when he started naming the statistics. One thing people can say whatever they want about Bernie Sanders, he always comes with the numbers. This is how many Americans are going to be affected by this. This is our country that has the least successful, least dedicated healthcare program in terms of developed nations of the world. These are how many Americans that could potentially die if these subsidies don't continue. And there's no guarantee that they will because part of the deal was we'll vote on it later. You know what I mean? That's not how you negotiate. That's the negotiating from a position of powerlessness, not from a position of power. That was gained just a few days ago with the election last week. That's why people are upset. That's why.
Yeah, because and the victories in New York, in particular, did not come at the hands of the establishment, the Democratic establishment. They had nothing to do with Zohran Mamdani winning the mayoral election. Hakeem Jeffries just endorsed him. The week of, 2 days before the election. They did not have anything to do with the people showing up. That should have been a clear message that we are out of touch with what is going on. And maybe our leadership isn't what we think. Maybe we should listen to the people and follow their instructions. And I'm sure there are folk who are furloughed right now, who are showing up to work every day, not getting paid. We're seeing air traffic control be a disaster as thousands and thousands of flights are being canceled and delays are through the roof, and people are feeling uncomfortable getting on an airplane right now, and the holidays are around the corner. I'm sure there's a lot of chatter there. Loree Daniel Favors, Loree breaks it down, her podcast, y'all check that out, because she also went through the money of who's getting airline money. Big airline. Who's getting the funding from big airline? And guess who's getting the funding? Kev, somebody's Elite Eight.
Yeah.
So who are you working for, the people or your pockets?
Something like you said, follow the money. That's how these things are negotiated. That's how these compromises are made often. Because this came out of left field. When I saw this unfolding yesterday, I was like, well, who are these? What senators? And I saw who they were, where they were situated. I said, it makes sense. Okay, we're talking about Nevada. We're talking about Virginia. This is making sense to me. And then you get those folks up in New England around the two from Maine, two from Nevada, two from New Hampshire. It was strategic. All they needed was eight, and they figured out how to do it. But it's certainly there was something happening behind the scenes. You're absolutely right. The truth will fully come out about this deal. And my concern again is the American people and what is going to happen. Yes, some people will they'll get paid again, they'll get back to work, but healthcare, healthcare, healthcare. Do we actually care about the health of people in this country and be able to go to the doctor when they need to? I
No.
mean, no,
You know what's sad? All of these people, they didn't miss a paycheck, and they
no.
have some of the best. They have some of the best health care in the
In the
country,
world, in the
in the
world,
world. Okay, how dare you?
as an
How
elected
dare you?
official.
How dare you? How dare you? You have everything. And most of y'all get the insider trade and do all these other things. You go in broke, leave millionaires, and you don't even give a damn about the common person because you're so out of touch. You're so far removed from what everyday people have to go through. It is disgusting. Shame on them. There's nothing we could do to them because none of them are running for re-election. But there's something we can do.
Yeah,
866-801-8255. And I'm actually excited. I think everybody should get primaried.
I agree.
If you stood next to any of these people, you should get primary. And let me correct myself. I said that Maine was 90 something percent. It's 90% melanemic. New Hampshire's 88% melanemic. And I only bring that up because there seems to be, people are in pain. You don't care when it's people who look like us who are in pain. You wouldn't show up for us. I'm seeing something right now, Kevin. I know, I know I'm saying something that is absolutely true. But let's go to the phones, 866-801-TALK. Take a call or two, and then we'll go to a break. Kevin Powell is here. Let's go to D in Pennsylvania. Welcome to the Karen Hunter Show. Hi.
Hi, Karen.
Hi, D.
So
D.
I
Yes.
agree with you on everything you said. And the Jackie Rosen clip, I actually watched that, and that's stuck in my head ever since yesterday. And I believe with Jackie Rosen and those the other four that you mentioned, the New Hampshire and the Maine, with them, I do believe somebody got in their ear. And I think it has to do with their airports. Because those are towns where they really need that Vegas airport running. They need those things running. They small towns. They need it. And I believe, and we all know that they say once you get in the Senate or the House, it doesn't matter how you got there. You all about the money in there. You either getting lobbied, you getting the insider information on the stocks. And I do believe it was about that. And also Tim Kaine, I had heard a clip of that. He wasn't really into it because he was worried about the election. But now the election was over, and so he voted right away. So if you weren't into it before, how could you vote that quickly? How could you really vote that quickly on it?
Interesting.
I think that was set up too. And I am surprised by him the most because he does come through a lot for the Democrats, and he's always voicing and sticking up for them. But in this issue, I don't really think it was about those workers either. Remember that those workers got fired or laid off because the shutdown. It wasn't negotiated from before. That's part of it. So when the government would have reopened, they would have got their job back.
Plus, the courts have already settled. You're going to get them their back pay. You're going to take, it's already been adjudicated. So you're not negotiating something that the courts have already said we're doing anyway. You're going to do it anyway. This is such a betrayal of public trust that I'm like, and the only reason why I'm saying it now because last Tuesday, Kev gave me so much hope and energy around the possibility of like when we show up in Moss, what do you want to see happen? I'm talking to people now. Y'all want third party? Let's go. Get your candidates together now. Let's put the coalition together now. Let's put the apparatus together now. We have 360 days to get it together. And it can happen. Like anything that you want to have happen, we have the numbers for it. They don't have the numbers. The only numbers they have is when we sit out. So go ahead. I'm sorry.
And no, you're right. You're right, Karen. I mean, I think that Americans are also forgetting that there's a whole history of parties rising out of the need of the people. And what I'm also seeing is folks are disgusted. Like what people are saying, I'm just disgusted with the two-party system. This is too limited. It feels like we've gotten to a point where both parties have become very predictable and we need something else. I mean, of course, locally in New York City, we have things like the Working Families Party, but there needs to be something that is going to shake this up, I believe, because it can't continue to be business as usual. Because I think, people can say whatever they want about social media. The thing that has been incredible to me with social media is how much people are saying what they feel all around the country as these things have unfolded over the last couple of years. And I'm talking about both parties and how things operate and how people seem to be, compromising or getting bought off, whatever it may be that's happening with some of these votes and some of these decisions. People have had enough. That's very clear to me.
Period. I'm gonna play a little funny clip that I saw. It's Nick Muller 703 on TikTok put this out. Play that one, Jonah. Clip
Just
one.
a quick explanation for those that caved. Dickless Durbin, very old and very rich. Jackie Rosen, pretty old and very rich. Fetterman, literal brain damage made him go right-wing, like parts of his brain were physically broken and his politics changed. Catherine Cortez Masto, pretty old, kinda rich. Jean Shaheen, very old and pretty rich. Maggie Hassan, not as old, still pretty rich. Tim Kaine, old, kinda rich, not as much as you'd expect. And Angus King, very fucking old, very fucking rich. Anyway, kids, maybe that'll give this all some context. Let's hope these old rich fucks wake up before the next vote and realize they did all this, put America through hell, standing up for one thing once in their lives, gave the fuck up and got fucking nothing except some orange Cheeto dust around their lips.
Thanks. Oh my God.
A little levity. And I think, we got to laugh to keep from crying sometimes, but also, the ridicule works. This is so ridiculous. Keep that going. Keep that energy. Let's take another call and then we'll go to a break. Kevin Powell is here. Kennedy in Georgia, you're on the Karen Hunter Show. Welcome.
Yes, ma'am. How you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing pretty good. You are taking up the mantle of Joe Madison. I miss Joe Madison so much, I miss him so bad.
We do too. We all do, sir. Believe me.
Yes, sir.
Believe me. Yes.
And I was thinking, Miss Hunter, I said, damn, 3 weeks ago, I said, I hope we don't have another damn Joe Madison and a Seneca. And lo and behold, these people just keep popping up all the time. They keep popping up. It's not black people. Let's just get to the point. It's not black people. It's white people. They always seem to be short all the time.
Well, unfortunately, there are how many black senators? There's Kevin. There's Cory Booker. There's Tim Scott.
And that's it.
And
I'm missing someone.
Yeah. Are we missing someone? No. No. Oh, yeah. Also Brooke. Yes, I think there are 2 more senators. I want to say Angela Alsobrook is a senator. I should know this off the top of my head.
Maryland,
I think there are 4.
That's right.
Yeah.
And Lisa Blunt,
Lisa Blunt Rochester. Yeah. So there's 4 out of 100. So there's that. So the numbers. The 2 black women. Go ahead.
And Raphael Warnock out of Georgia. If you can't forget Raphael Warnock, my frat brother.
So there's 5. So there's 5 black people. 5 black people out of 100. Not the numbers that we represent in the country. So it should be like 12, 13% of the Senate should be.
Yeah.
What is
Yeah.
that?
That would be about 13 or 15 senators, and then we have five.
Right. So,
Hmm.
to your point, and that's why I brought up New Hampshire and Maine in particular, because I do feel like when white people suffer in this country, people want, because they're showing up too. They're showing up to their town halls. They're like letting these people have it, and it's like, but I do think it's the money. It's more than the people showing up. It's the money. It's the money. It's the money, and who's paying them, and that's important. I'll take one more. And we did that in real time off the top of our head with the senators. Everyone should know who their senators are, who their representatives are. They should know who's representing all of us in the Senate. And I'm glad that we were able to rattle those off, Kevin, because I was this is live radio, and I ain't had time to search. But Gina in Georgia, welcome to the Karen Hunter Show. Hey.
Hey, Karen, how are you doing?
I'm good.
I just wanted to say that, first of all, due to a couple of things, I'm glad I did not vote this election, because had I voted, I would have pulled that lever for Donald Trump.
So why are you trolling us today, Gina? What happened? What happened? Who hurt you?
What?
What's the matter? Why are you like this?
I was sick.
Oh no, I'm asking.
Sick.
I'm asking about. I'm sorry that you were sick, but I'm asking a larger question. That you listen to this. You listen to this show on a regular basis?
Yes, ma'am. Since 2015.
Okay, all right. And you would have pulled a lever for Donald Trump?
I would have.
This is crazy.
And that's because I usually participate in these things, and I'm glad that I didn't participate in what this is, because it wasn't presented that this is what it's going to be. I also
okay. So so you didn't vote at all, which is problematic. But had you voted, you would have voted for Trump because of what? Now, what did you think you were getting for that vote?
I thought that I was getting, I just didn't care for some of the things that Kamala was pushing.
Kamala
was pushing. One of the things was not speaking up against them just allowing boys and men to be in women's sports. And not only when she was
Gina,
asked,
what percentage of trans athletes are in women's sports?
Probably one, if that much.
Okay, and that was an issue big enough for you to vote against your own humanity, your rights, voting and reproductive, and all the rest of ours as well? Do you know any trans people?
No, not personally.
Oh, okay, but that issue. Do you play sports? Do you have anybody in sports?
That wasn't the sole issue.
What else? Give me one more thing that was like, I'm gonna vote for Trump because Kamala. Give me one more.
When she said there was nothing she would have changed from Biden.
Okay, what would you have changed from Biden?
Well, first of all, some of the comments that he made, but and all the immigration. That was allowed.
You're in Georgia, ma'am.
Yes.
Gina, I'm going to challenge you. I'm going to challenge you because I really feel like your ignorance of civic engagement and issues is so harmful that it is you're a detriment to our community, to your community, to this country when you don't know enough, but you could still have cast a vote. And I hate to say this, Kev, but I'm glad she didn't vote. But damn, What are we
Yeah.
doing? The misinformation campaign is so palpable and so like you don't even question that because makes you feel good and everything you're talking about is not anything that has anything to do with what politics actually delivers, which are rights and resources. Trans bathroom people and trans sports people, that has nothing to do with our collective rights and resources. But that was an issue and it was a very effective campaign ad. When they used that Charlemagne vote, I said, "Oh, you allowed this to happen."
Yeah.
That ad ran ad nauseum all throughout the South and throughout this country, and it was so effective because people don't want boys in the locker room with their babies. Who does? Nobody. Okay. And it wasn't happening in a widespread way. There's one that I can even think of is Leah Thomas, and I've been very vocal about Leah Thomas not participating in women's sports. I thought it was wrong, but that wasn't enough for me to vote against everybody's common humanity. Can we talk about this when we come back? I gotta calm down. I gotta collect myself. Live radio. Kevin Powell is sticking around.